13th Amendment is the First Amendment that is geared towards combating elements of racism in this country. The 13th Amendment is one of the Civil War amendments because it's one of the three amendments passed in the aftermath of the Civil War. And it's monumentally impactful because it formally abolishes the institution of slavery. So after the ratification of the 13th Amendment, slavery is no longer legal in this country. It's important to note, however, that there is an initial muted impact. The 13th Amendment's not like a magic cure-all because it proves to be difficult for the United States government to sort of provide for former slaves, and without this necessary enforcement, very little progress is made. The initial promise made to former slaves was that every slave would receive 40 acres of land and a mule to basically work on it. There are very few former slaves that benefited from that promise. So, unfortunately, what happened is that most former slaves had no other option than to return to their former plantation, their former slave owner. There was nowhere else to turn. Plantation owners were willing to basically provide some land and some crops and some seed and some animals to work the land. But without any money to pay for those things, the plantation owners basically charged former slaves most of the crop that they produced, sharing the crop they produced, right, as the name implies, even though that's not exactly what happened here. And basically, these African Americans were left with little to nothing of their own. So ultimately, what ends up happening is Southern plantation owners are able to kind of keep forced labor by calling it something very different. So the 13th Amendment, while impactful, initially has a rather muted impact.